I am Vinnie Tortorich, and folks, here we are again on the Friday show. Your good intentions have been stolen. But don't worry, I'm here to help you get them back. You may be a little soft and succulent when you start this process, but don't worry. Don't worry, you hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed, or your money back. Oh, wait, it's a free podcast. Yeah, I'll give you your money back. What the hell? We usually bring in an expert on a Friday show, a luminary, if you will, in the world of health and fitness. But this Friday is going to be a little different because this guy is a luminary in a different field, yet he has a lot to discuss when it comes to health and fitness. We talk about him a lot on the Monday show, Anna and me. We gave him the title, the billionaire Don Coddington. And here he is on the Friday show to discuss many things, including losing a shit ton of weight. My good friend, Don Coddington. How you doing, bro?
Good. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, Don. We just had, as Serena calls it, a bromance week. Up in the mountains.
One of many.
Down in the desert. We were all over the place, Donnie.
This is true. Very true.
We did it up, man.
We did.
Now, when most guys would have a bromance weekend, you would think Vegas, booze, blow, hookers, right?
Yeah.
Or you might go to the beach. Or you might go to, it's like a bachelor party. You might go and, strip joints or whatever. Tell everybody where we spent our glorious week together.
Well, one spot was the lowest place maybe in the world, definitely the United States, below sea level, and also the hottest place on Earth, or at least definitely in the US. And then we went to the highest place in the contiguous US. So we were in between the lowest and highest for an entire week: Mount Whitney, Lone Pine, California, Death Valley, California, and running around, hanging with ultra runners, going up mountains ourselves. And that's what we did, and eating steak.
We ate a lot of steak. Boy, did we eat steak.
Every day.
Don, we're going to get into a lot of things. We're going to talk about salt, the overconsumption of salt, and we're going to talk about maybe the underconsumption of salt. We're going to talk about how you lost somewhere between 50 and 60 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about zone 2 training. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but it would be deleterious on my part. It would be a remission if we didn't talk about the greatest human being to ever live, a guy named Blair.
Ah, indeed, Blair.
Yeah, paisano. My paisano.
Paisano Blair.
Yeah.
The king of Lone Pine, California.
They should just make him mayor.
Also known as Big Willie, what your shirt says.
Yeah, oh, look, I got here. Let me show. If you're watching this, folks, ladies, if you want to see what the billionaire Don Coddington looks like, we're doing this on it's a podcast, but we also have it on the YouTube. So you ladies can go check him out. But I'm going to show everyone my Big Willie t-shirt. Look at this, Don.
That's the one. Very nice.
It's the coolest t-shirt in the history of t-shirts.
It really is.
Yeah, I'm wearing it right now. I can't get enough of Big Willie. This guy, boy, what a story, huh?
Oh, yeah. Amazing.
My next documentary might be on him and his friend.
Yeah.
They're the two most fascinating people I've met in a long time.
Miles, who was a world-class climber.
Yeah, and barely noted for it.
Right.
And these guys are just hanging out. Look, let's face it, Lone Pine, and we learned a lot about Lone Pine on this trip. Lone Pine is, to put it bluntly, a shithole of a place.
No doubt.
Am I making this up?
No, you're right. It is.
The whole town is like a shanty town, is in disrepair. And I've been going through Lone Pine since 1991.
Mm-hmm.
sometimes to get to Bishop to do 200 and 300-mile races. Just every weekend when I could get away to go to Mammoth, you go through Lone Pine. I would often stop there to get a bite to eat because by the time we got to Bishop, everything would be closed. But Lone Pine Seasons would be open, or Totem, or something would be. There was also a Mexican restaurant there. Something would be open so we can eat before, because the way it would work is we would go to Mammoth. I would leave late on a Friday to get up there Friday night so I could ski Saturday and Sunday, and then come back late Sunday and be right back to work on Monday. So the only meal you're going to get in these one-horse towns, Lone Pine was it. If I tried to push it another hour to Bishop, everything would be closed. And then you're in Mammoth, and that town shuts down pretty early too. At least back in the day it did. So many of nights and many of meals in Lone Pine. And I always wondered about that town. My thought was always the highest point in a contiguous United States starts in that town. Literally starts at Portal Road. And if you went from Portal Road to the top and then climb, to the portal and then climb the mountain, it's maybe a 45-mile round trip. Wouldn't you say, Don? 22, 23 up and then 22, 23 down. If you went from, say, Seasons.
Right. Yep. Yep. From the beginning of Portal Road. Yeah.
Right. Most people drive to the portal.
Yep.
That 11 miles, and then hike from the portal to the top, because that's where the actual trail starts.
Right. Another 11 miles. Yep.
Yeah. You can stop. You can start at Alabama Rock, and there's a trail there and everything if you want to do it from the bottom, but it's kind of boring and flat. No one does it.
Right.
So I always wondered, why is this town not like an Aspen, Colorado? Why isn't more people not going up Mount Whitney? What's going on?
Right. Why is it more popular? Right.
And then when you and I started going there a couple of years ago with my snowflake nephews, you brought it up to me, Don, when you said, hey man, if you go to Europe, all you have to do is show up and climb. Mont Blanc, the highest point in Western Europe.
Walk anywhere you want.
Yeah.
Anytime you want.
You went to the Matterhorn. You climbed the Matterhorn.
Right. Yep.
Did you have to get some kind of permit or pass or anything?
Nope. Just go.
But on Mount Whitney, you need a pass, right?
Yeah, you win the lottery to get a pass. You can't just get a pass.
Right. You don't just show up. They only give 100 passes a day. And as Big Willie and Miles said, it's an area the size of Rhode Island, of a state. Yet there's only 100 passes a day.
Right.
So you literally have to win a lottery. Why? Why? The question was always on my mind, the why. It plagued your brain too, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You sit around and you go, you would think they would want to get as many people on this mountain. And whenever I've asked any ranger or anyone, and you're way more, inquisitive than I will ever be. The question,
if you think about it, right? Mount Wilson and Mount Baldy, the other 14ers in the country, in the state, there's thousands of people walking up and down every day, and they're almost as high.
Yeah, well, Baldy's not that high, but yeah, you could go any glacier. You could go to Mount Hood. You could go up to Seattle and do those glaciers. Anything.
Yeah.
No, nothing. You can go any 14er in Colorado.
Right.
Just show up and walk.
Right.
No problem. This one, there are rangers at the gate. So you're sitting there wondering why. And then one day, because once Don and I met the famous Blair over at Big Willie Mountaineering Company,
sole proprietor,
we couldn't stop thinking about, we met this guy. We just walked in there just to take a look around. We couldn't stop talking about this guy when we left. So we went back and sat there one afternoon. We just sat and started talking to Blair. And not only did we get, we found out who Blair was, why Blair was, what he did, his whole story. It's a very interesting story.
Mhm.
But then we met Miles,
Yep.
and the story becomes more interesting. And then they start telling us by day 2 and day 3, now we're old friends. And these guys tell us a tale that when I put this tale together in my head that night, I turned to Don and I said, it finally makes sense to me after 30 years as to why they have only 100 climbers and a lottery to climb this mountain every year. I'll tell you guys exactly what it is after I tell you about Belcampo. Belcampo.com. Don, I know for a fact that you're a fan of Anya Fernald and Belcampo and all that. Yeah. Am I making this up?
Oh, very big fan. Yeah. Before she was a sponsor here, I was a fan.
You actually called me after they became a sponsor and you said, dude, that's huge. I
Yeah.
can't believe you have Belcampo, because you were already in on Belcampo, right?
Correct. Yep.
The meat, and you live on meat. You're a carnivore. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Correct.
You're a big fan, right?
Yes, indeed.
Folks, I'm not making this up. Look, I used to have a different meat guy that advertised on this show. Number one, the meat here is better. It is. The other people aren't bad. I'm going to be honest, they aren't bad. This meat is better. Number one. Number two, the discount is huge. Every time you show up at Belcampo, put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, 15% off. If you spend over $100 after the discount, you also get what? Oh, nothing, just free shipping. That's huge when you're talking about meat, because they have to ship it frozen. They have to put the dry ice and everything in there. It gets heavy. I tell people, if you can order $200 at a time, you'll save $30 plus free shipping. It's an incredible savings. Go do it. Fill up your deep freeze, fill up your regular freezer, get it all from Belcampo. Don't fall asleep on the NSNG approved meatballs at Belcampo. Belcampo.com, promo code Vinnie, VINNIE. I see the orders coming in every day. They give me a link and I see you guys, I see your names, I see what you guys order. I get to see it in real time. They send it to me. It's kind of neat. I love that you guys do it. I love that you guys support the show. And I love that you're getting healthy, eating the best meat known to mankind. Belcampo, promo code Vinnie, 15% off. If you spend more than $99, free shipping. Go check it out, belcampo.com. We're talking to my good friend, Don Coddington. So Don, the reason, and you came to this conclusion also, the reason why we think that there's only 100 people who get to climb that mountain per day, and there's a lottery and they make it almost impossible, is what?
The family that controls the water supply there doesn't want the town to grow. They just want to keep it the way it is. So no infrastructure has to get built. People don't start sniffing around and making requests for changes. They've obviously got their business and it's going great. So let's just keep it as is. No need to grow. For them, for their purposes, they don't need it to grow. There's no upside for them.
Yeah, they apparently own everything in their town and they don't want to see anything improve. As a matter of fact, they like when people go out of business. They would rather have the buildings in town be empty. Mm-hmm. If you go anywhere off of Main Street, which kind of reminds you, if you ever saw the movie Blazing Saddles, when they make the fake town with just the facades, it's almost like that, because if you go one block in either direction, it's shanty town. You can't believe people live that way.
Big time. Yeah. And why? Right. Why this shanty? Why we so remote in a shanty town? Why not just go somewhere closer and be in a shitty neighborhood?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't want people there. It's almost like a Jack Reacher novel where you go there and you start looking around and go, okay, 2 and 2 is not equaling 4 here. What's going on? What's happening here? And after all these years, I finally, we finally kind of cracked the code. Don, should we tell people the truth about how we climbed? Do you mind if I mention it and what we did?
No, go ahead.
About how our passes and all that?
I guess, yeah. I guess you can. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we took a risk.
We took a risk. Here's what we did.
we kind of justified it in our mind wrongly, but it was a justification of, well, we have contributed to the till 8 times prior.
We did. And all right, first off, the last time we were supposed to climb on our climbing day, we had a fire. There was a fire. That was 3 years ago, right?
Yep.
There was a fire. So we had bought 4 tickets for that climb.
Mm-hmm.
And we bought 4 tickets. Didn't happen.
Right.
The year before that, I was up there with my snowflake nephews, and we had 4 tickets, and only one person even hit the mountain. Well, 2 of you did, you and my nephew. I turned around right away with my first nephew. We didn't even get to the part where you're in the park.
Right.
Right. We were still,
Oh, that's right. You were. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I technically never hit the trail.
No, you didn't. No.
So that's 2 more. And my other nephew barely hit the trail.
Yeah.
So I felt like I paid for like 7 tickets that never got used.
Right.
We tried to pay this year and we couldn't get in. We couldn't get into the lottery. I felt like I've paid in enough. And our thing was, we will leave the mountain cleaner than we found it, meaning we would pick up trash on the mountain the whole time, which is something we both do anyway.
Right.
So we justified our own bad behavior and we climbed it without a pass. Now you take a chance. It's one of those things in life where you rather ask for forgiveness and permission. We could have gotten stopped by a ranger at any time and knew that we would see a ranger at some point. But because of our good friends, Blair and Miles, we had intel on the rangers. We knew what rangers would do what, which ones would just yell at you, which ones would give you a ticket, and so on and so forth. And they described these rangers in full detail.
Yep.
So when we were coming down the mountain on that fateful day, I happened to see the ranger. You were in front of me, Don. I happened to see the ranger.
Mm-hmm.
And she turned to talk to us as we were coming down, and I engaged her first. And I went, "Oh, hang on, what's your name?" And she said, "Kayla." I went, "Oh, you're the good one. You're the good one." And she was like, "Wait, what? Huh?" And I was like, "Kayla, right?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, we heard about you from Blair and Miles. They said that you were the best ranger up here." Well, at that point, she's not going to ask to see your pass.
Right.
Right. So I just disarmed the woman, and she ended up walking with us and talking to us for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And never once asked for our pass because I just kept asking her questions. So we ran into a ranger. She didn't ask for the pass, and that's how we did it.
But we got lucky is the bottom line.
Yeah, we did. We
But
did.
maybe paying 7 times, 6 times before brought us that karma. Who knows?
Yeah, we paid a lot to go there, and the reason we were even up there was because I was sponsoring an event that brings, some people say, $1 million to that valley. Right, all of these people are doing all of this stuff between the rooms and all the food and all the ice and food and everything else they buy. And they call it, whenever the Badwater event takes place, they call it their Christmas Eve. That's how they make it out in that desert. And my company was the title sponsor for that race. They also sell a ton of rooms. Lone Pine is sold out because of that race.
Yeah.
Again, title sponsor. So does it justify me breaking the rules? No, but we did. And that's what we did. Anyway, we had 2 moments where we thought we could climb right when we got there. And if there was bad weather, there was one other time. So we saw that there was an opportunity as soon as we got to town to climb. And we decided to go up the next morning. So we got there. We're not acclimated in any way, shape, or form. We wake up the next morning. We went to bed. What time did we go to bed, Don?
Oh, I don't know, 11 or so.
Was it that late?
The first night? Well, yeah, because We got there, got settled 8, maybe 10, maybe 10.
What did you eat that night before? Because this is where I want to start talking about how we did it on no carbs. What did you have at
Oh, we
Totem?
stopped at In-N-Out Burger on the way.
That's right.
Right.
We ate an In-N-Out burger.
In-N-Out Burger. That was pretty much it, right?
I think, yeah. How many burgers did you?
Eat anywhere in town when we got there?
No, we had In-N-Out burger, and that was it. And that on the way up. And how many burgers did we have? I lost count.
6 or 8.
Yeah, we just had 6 or 8 patties because we thought that might be the only thing we get to eat.
Right.
We didn't know if we were climbing that morning or not. That's right. That's what we had. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we went to bed that night. We woke up a few hours later. It's now 1:30 in the morning. We started making coffee in the room because we have all the coffee gear known to man.
No, the next day we did like an hour and a half hike. Just
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Don.
right. So
That's why I keep you hanging
I went to
around.
bed, right? And then the next morning we're like, all right, let's get settled. Let's get our
That's
legs
right.
moving. Yeah, let's go up to 8,000 feet, see what's up.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Yeah,
So we spent that day. That's when we met Blair
right.
that day. That's when we went to Big Willie's.
You like to shop.
Me, Jesus Christ. Don, I've never seen anyone buy as much shit as you, man.
Except you.
Me.
Except you.
I bought nothing.
Yeah, you tried, but you ended up buying.
I bought this T-shirt.
Listen, the credit card proves it. Sunglasses,
I left my sunglasses.
water filters.
And I had a water filter. You bought a water filter.
You bought me the water filter.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm so
Well, because
kind.
I bought yours last time.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. So we get all the shit, and then we ate at Totem that night, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So what did you have that night?
I had a ribeye and a filet mignon.
And I had a ribeye. I
Right.
think.
Yep.
So you had 2 steaks. I had 1 steak.
Mhm.
We went back to the room. We were probably in bed that night by 8:00, 8:39.
More like 9, maybe. Yeah, to sleep by 10
Yeah. By the time we were
or
hunkered down.
9:30-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we woke up at 1:30. And when I woke up, you wake up, you feel fine. I start moving around, start having a cup of coffee, and I started getting a bit of an acid stomach. We didn't have much to eat in the room. I had my ultra fats, which, I had a ton of them. I was taking them with me if I needed them.
Yep.
We made boiled eggs in the room. We had a hot plate and what have you. We made boiled eggs.
That's what you bought.
I bought the hot plate and the eggs.
And a pot.
Yeah, well, Don, it's hard to boil an egg unless you got a pot. You got to put water, and water doesn't just.
And you bought Clorox wipes, which you never touched.
I have them here. I'm going to use them Monday.
Okay.
I'm going to get to those Clorox wipes. Anyway, boiled some eggs.
Yeah.
And while I was eating the eggs that morning, I boiled them the night before and put them in the fridge. My stomach was acid. I noticed, it's got a little acid stomach. I never really I don't get acid stomach, but it was like a little weird. And we didn't have it. We forgot to buy cream. I don't know how that happened, but we didn't have cream. And you had a product that I've never used before, which was a powdered version of an MCT oil.
Mhm.
So you told me that would make my coffee creamy. And so I put some in there, big mistake. Because now the acid stomach made me feel a little weird. Although I didn't mention anything to you. I was like,
Yeah.
start walking, I'll walk this off, I'll be fine. All that good stuff. Well, we started walking at just shy of 3:00 by the time we got up the mountain and everything. And we're in zone 2. We're doing the whole thing in zone 2. And both of our clocks are showing we're walking at a pace that would get us to the top in 6 hours. And we're on this nice pace. We're like metronomes when Don and I walk together. We have a good pace together. And we're keeping that pace, no problem. to the point where when either of us has to take a leak, and I know in the early mornings I'm going to take a lot of leaks, I would unbutton my pants, unzip, basically have it out, and I say, okay, stopping, pee, you know, zipping up when we're walking again. We're not losing any time. But my acid stomach is just kind of making me feel weird, right? Like, am I going to throw up? Am I not going to throw up? We even talked about it. We both, since we hadn't been at altitude in a while, it didn't take us long to get to 11 or 12,000 feet. And we were feeling like we had a drink. And which was odd. You know, I never felt like that, but I was feeling pretty disoriented. We sat down, it was now daylight. We sat down somewhere on the, and I was sipping very little water because every time I took a sip of water, it made me more nauseous. So I was way down on my water. I was getting more dizzy from not drinking water. We're walking for several hours. We sat down to take our first little break. And I said, I got to get some water in me. And I took some ultra salts and I guzzled a bunch of water. And that was pretty much the end of me. I stood up and I almost fell over. Right.
Yep.
From that point on, we just kept marching at that pace, but I just kept saying, Don, I got to stop because I felt like I was going to fall over. I was that dizzy. And you noted at some point that you said, dude, you're looking gray. You
were white as a ghost, which I've never seen you white ever. Even your neck was white.
Yeah.
All down your face and neck. And you're tan year round. So
yeah, I was sick as a dog.
Yeah.
I was, and we're marching. Now we're behind the Sentinels. We're at what, 13,000 feet, something like that, 13,500. And this is the part where there's drop offs on both sides. And I'm hanging on to rocks, not to fall over. And now we're stopping. How often are we stopping for me to hold on to a rock?
A lot. A lot. Every 20 steps. I don't know.
I'm retching.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
yeah. And I'm like, wow, he really is tough as nails, this guy. Holy shit.
What were we, like 200 feet from the top? And I said, Don, go tap out. Just go tap out. I'm going to lay on this rock.
Yep.
And, you know, I figured, oh, Don's going to go up there. He's going to, you know, just take a few photos or whatever. And I laid on the rock. There was a flat, I found a rock right before you get to the top. So as far as I'm concerned, I summited it. You could see the top from where I'm standing. It's like, I'm good. This is good enough.
Yeah.
Right. I don't need to go see. I've been up there before.
Right.
This is the gods getting me back for not paying my $20.
Right. Karma. Right.
This is karma just kicking me in the ass.
Yeah.
And I lay there for a few minutes, and I have the chills, like, you know, the chills you get when you have a fever. Yeah. It wasn't cold up there that day. And I'm like shaking. I have my jacket on. I'm still shaking. And all I could think is, I'm as sick as you can get. I have the flu. At that point, I just assumed I had the flu.
Yep.
And I said, I got to walk 11 miles with the flu. That's all I could think is I have 11 miles to get back to my car.
Right.
So Don's going to catch me on the way down. There's no way. I'm still retching and everything. I started walking down. I figured Don's going to catch me in 5 minutes. But as I start walking, I pick up the pace a little bit. All I could think about is just keep going forward. You have 11 miles of walking to do. You have to get down. As I'm walking, I have a few dry burps. I mean, that sounds gross, but that's good because every burp I had before that had some liquid with it. So now at least I'm dry burping. Now, why does this matter? Okay, all I've had was eggs that morning and whatever this MCT powder was. I was literally living off of my own fat stores in my body, obviously, after 7 or 8 hours. Don, you were fat. You didn't eat that morning, correct?
Nothing.
Zero.
So
you started walking with nothing in you. Did you take anything on the way up? Anything other than salt and water?
Nothing. Just salt and water.
People will say, the naysayers, the keto deniers, if you will. They'll say, oh, you can't do athletic things without carbohydrates. How many carbs did you have, Don?
0.
Did you eat anything all that day other than water and salt?
No, it was actually over 24 hours by the time we ate again.
Yeah.
And
you
that
were
wasn't
fine.
on purpose. I had meat sticks with me in case,
Yeah.
but never needed them.
Yeah.
So
I just kept walking. Somehow I kept looking back and it's like, where's Don? I started wondering, it's like, where's Don? And now I'm on the switchbacks. I'm halfway down the switchbacks and I'm feeling normal now. Like I'm moving again like an athlete on the mountain. And I keep looking back and it's like, Don's got to catch me. But you don't. I learned about 2/3 of the way down the switchbacks. I was finally feeling so good that I sat down and started sipping water for the first time all day. The water was staying down. I said, you know what? I'm moving well. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to have this. I actually had one of my my ultra fats. It went down well. I felt good. At that point, some people caught up with me, some people that we had seen earlier in the day. And they said, by the way, your friend is looking for you up there. Now, Don, tell the story as to what you were doing.
So I'd come down. I was only gone for probably less than 19 minutes. So you must have left the second I left you. And you weren't there. So I start looking around thinking, oh, he was so nauseous. I hope he didn't stand up and then fall. And then I thought, knowing him, you know, he's just going to grit it out. And he probably did go to the summit, but I may have missed you as I was coming down. You were going up and maybe around the other side of the hut that's up there. That split second, we could have missed each other. But then I'm thinking, no, let me just keep going down the mountain to see if I can see him or catch him. So I'm literally just about running, you know, a run walk actually down the mountain to try to catch you to see, or at least see your brightest blue jacket anyone could wear. You're wearing it with bright orange piping. And I'm not seeing you off in the distance. And I'm asking everyone on the way, did you see a guy that was wearing this? No. I'm asking everybody. And so then I think, oh, before I keep investing in going down, maybe I better go back up in case he did go to the summit. Or maybe I didn't look hard enough to see if he fell off the rock and nobody heard him because he fell fast and hit his head and was unconscious and wasn't yelling. So then I run. Now I start hoofing it back up to the summit. And as I'm going back up to the summit, people we had been seesawing with are like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I left my buddy up there. I'm trying to find him, you know. So I'm going back to the summit. They're like, oh, geez. So I finally go back to the summit a second time, look around more. You're not there. And then I'm like, just praying to God, like at some point I do catch you, or, you know, be in the next 11 miles back down. So now I'm just hoofing it to just try to catch you, or hoping that you stopped somewhere along the way. But I'm thinking, well, if he left, he's feeling really bad and wants to get these 11 miles over with. So I may not catch him. I'm preparing all this in my mind. I'm like, all right, so if I get to the portal and he's already left the car, that's good. That means he probably drove himself to the hospital or something. And I'm just like praying for at least that, so I don't have to tell Serena that you fell off Mount Whitney and come up with like, how and why did that happen, and have to chop her in and find you somewhere and extract your body off or beneath a rock. So yeah, sure enough, kept going for hours, and then found you sunning yourself on a rock like an alligator, like a lion, just laying there like, oh, what's up? Oh, it's a great day in the park. Here we are. So I was just grateful for that. And then, you know, then we booked down the rest of the 6 miles and you were fine.
Yeah. But by the time,
how fast I went, you were like, yeah, let's keep going. Let's go.
Yeah. Once I was able to drink water and get more salt in me,
Yeah.
And my
Yeah, all your color had come back.
yeah, like
Yeah.
nothing had happened.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever was in my stomach that was causing, I'm pretty sure it was whatever that powdered, what was it? Powdered
MCT powder.
MCT. I think it just, it's something I've never used before. I don't use stuff like that. You know, I use coconut oil, or I use my ultra fat.
Yeah.
What they say, don't try something new on race day. And boy, did I.
But I think altitude was at play too, because even,
Maybe.
I had commented and you said, yeah, you feel like you have it in the first 5 hours or maybe 4 or 5 hours. I said, I was like, oh, I'm a little wobbly on some of these rocks. And you were like, yeah, you feel like you have a drink in you, right? I said, yeah. You're like, yeah, that's because we're not acclimated to this altitude. So, you go straight from sea level to 12,000, 13,000 feet. I guess you're bound to feel something. And what we felt was not as bad as what some people feel, but, it eventually went away for us.
And when you think about it, I don't think either one of us have gone 2 years, the COVID year.
Oh, yeah, we did no training.
We did no training, and we haven't been at altitudes. That's an eternity for both of us not to be at altitudes. We take it for granted that, I was always skiing, so you're at altitudes. We're always climbing somewhere, so we're at altitudes. I've never taken a year off of skiing and a year off of it. There was no altitude for me.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's weird that we became mere mortals. And then on top of that, whatever happened to me. But as soon as I started coming down, I started feeling better. And as soon as I started feeling better, I started drinking, and I had some of my ultra fat, and I was brand new.
And then half the mountain kept telling you, your buddy's looking for you, your buddy's looking for you, to where you called me the mayor of the mountain.
Yeah. He became the mayor. And the kind of backhanded compliment, the one guy who, everyone was saying, haven't seen this guy, haven't seen this guy, haven't seen this guy. And this one kid that was leapfrogging with us all day, he said to you, yeah, the old guy with the Greek god calves. So it's like, couldn't you just say Greek god calves? Leave it at that. Did you have to throw old guy in there?
Right.
Couldn't leave that part out, could you? Yeah. So it's good to know one part of my body still looks good, my calves. The rest of me, not so great.
Right.
I want to talk a little bit about salt, because you had some misconceptions around salt. You want to discuss what it was and what you were doing and what was happening to you?
Well, you mean in terms of thinking that you had to take 1,000 grams at a time?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of what's out there. So you think, oh, I need to, mix 1,000 grams with at least 16 ounces, really more like a liter, and, use that sort of formula, and see where it takes you. But, sometimes if you go overdo it, as a lot of people know, you're going to end up with the runs.
Yeah. And that kept happening to you, right? You kept
not this trip, in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not this trip.
It's amazing with all the talking we do that slipped by me all this time. And then when you told me how much you were taking, I was like, do you get the shits? And you're like, yeah, it happens to me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. That's the misconception around salt. And I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus.
But there's so much hype out there about salt and hydration.
Right.
Especially if you're low carb, that, you hear all the noise and you start getting paranoid about it. You think you need more than you need.
And look, I sell an electrolyte, which is basically a salt pill with other, with manganese and magnesium and calcium and, what have you. Did I say potassium? Potassium. So I would love to tell people to take more, because I get to make a few bucks. But the bottom line is, there is something, there's a limit, and the limit is not so much, and this is the part of the conversation we got into. I said, people are always saying, how many, how much, how often, right? And that's a really hard thing to answer for several reasons. But the biggest reason is you can throw your balance out of whack two different ways. If you have too much water with no electrolytes, you can end up washing out the electrolytes you have. That's a problem, right? You have an electrolyte imbalance. If you have too much salt and you're not taking in enough water, then you have a problem in the opposite direction. There's a middle ground. That's why I tell people, look, I can't talk about anyone else's electrolyte, but with our ultra salt, for every capsule you take, you're good somewhere between 15 and 20 ounces of water. That should be your measure. And if you're worried about, having too much, this, I always tell people, Don knows this canister. I carry it with me everywhere. It's 40 ounces, right?
Mhm.
Basically, I put 3 ultra salts in here. I just break them open and put them in here. And when you do that, you know that you're not getting too much ultra salt, right?
Right.
You know that the balance is going to be pretty much right where you want it to be. And you can measure the same thing out. I tend not to put them in a, if you have like a hydration pack, like, a Camelback or that kind of thing, I won't crack them open in there. And people say, well, why not? Well, think about it. Salt is heavy. It will sink to the bottom. A lot of the electrolytes will sink to the bottom. So at first, because those Camelbacks draw from the bottom, the beginning of all of that, you're going to get too much salt, not enough mixture of water in. And then towards the end, you're going to get nothing but water and all the salts in your body. In those cases, when you're using that, you want to keep it and just pop them, just keep it in, I have some right here. Let's pull one out here and show you what we have here. My electrolytes, ultra salt. You want to take one of these, just pop it in your mouth and drink water, right? That's the way you, matter of fact, I've been working out, Don. You see that gym behind me? Been working out like a 2-hour workout before I got on here with you. Yeah, that's good podcasting when you listen to someone drink. But yeah, that's basically how you do it. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to underdo it. And I think for a while there, you might have been overdoing it on the salt a bit. And your body.
Previously to now, yeah.
Yeah. The next thing I wanted to discuss with you, Don, is you and I have done a lot of, I talked you into Zone 2 training years ago, and you followed other people on the internet that pretty much backed up what I was talking about, including, Phil Maffetone and others.
Mhm.
I'm not going to sit here and talk about everyone that talks about it. But as I always say, I talk about Zone 2 as if I get paid to talk about a Zone 2 committee. Even when you were 50 or 60, it was 50 or 60 pounds. I can never remember.
Yeah, in between there. Yep.
Yeah, let's call it 55 pounds.
Right.
You did a shit ton of Zone 2 training. When we did Mont Blanc, as a matter of fact, every time we trained together, my term was crack it back. Whenever you were going up a mountain, you had that extra 55 pounds on you, and you were like, you felt like you were moving too slowly. It's like, no, just crack it back.
Yep.
And when we did Mont Blanc, the guides said, look, we're not going to let you two climb together because you're in much better shape than him. I wanted to tell him, hey, look, that dude's going to kick other people's asses out here. But they're looking at Don, they're just assessing you and your size. Right. And didn't put us on the same rope. And I didn't want to become the Sandy Hill Pittman of Mont Blanc and go, I'm paying you and I want to be on the rope with that guy. I just agreed with it. Mm-hmm. But you kicked ass up there, even though you were 55 pounds heavier than you are right now. How does it feel that we've climbed, we climbed just over 1,000 feet less than we did on Mont Blanc? How did it feel to climb this year with the 55 pounds off?
Yeah, so it felt amazing, actually. I had no issues at all and felt like a mountain goat, really. Going into the Mount Whitney trip with you this time, we were both kind of nervous because we're like, all right, we have no time to acclimate. Yeah, we're super fat adapted, but haven't been training and putting in the time to know, geez, can we walk 15 hours uphill or 10 hours uphill? And what's that going to be like? Am I going to, not you so much, but am I going to bonk? I had no idea, between the eating this way, not putting in any time on hills like we did for Mont Blanc. We trained a lot for that. And I guess I was in the back of my mind hoping like, well, I hope being less fat makes a huge difference. And it did. It was like night and day. So and when we say that we didn't train, it's not like we were on the couch the whole time. Yeah,
Right.
we did our walks, walking around the neighborhood, you know, an hour and a half here or there, but nothing in below zone 2, really. Not even at zone 2. And then, you know, hit or miss, an occasional couple of hour hike. But, you know, and strength training twice a week, that was consistent. But so yeah, I was very nervous going into it. Like, well, what's it like to go to altitude without acclimating for a few days, and then not even training for something steep and long, 22 miles, you know, when I'm going an hour and a half around the neighborhood, or maybe on the treadmill, like it's nothing. So, but it all worked out and was just totally amazing that, you know, all that fat loss made a massive difference.
Oh, it's got to, you know, when you think about being on a grade, you know, and having 55 less pounds to deal with,
Yeah.
you know, that's got to, and when we did Mont Blanc, of course, we had to carry 40-pound packs up there. So you were basically almost 100 pounds lighter than you were on Mont Blanc, because
Right.
we had to carry big packs and you were fatter.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So that had to feel good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt so good. I was like, well, I guess I'll go back to the summit and see if he's up there.
Yeah.
Now I'm like going up and down Mount Whitney like it's a backyard hill.
You're like Anatoly Bukharev. You know, only 2 people in the whole world is going to get that. You know, you're the Uli Steck of Whitney.
Right. Oh, he's not here. Let me go back up. Up, not here. Let's go back down.
He's the Conrad Anchor of Whitney.
Yeah.
How many other names can I throw out that no one will know except us?
Right.
Uli Steck. It's hard to believe he's been gone. He's been dead now for like 3 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, you know, yeah, you became a mountain goat. As a matter of fact, we're talking about trying to actually get passes and go up again.
Right.
You know,
yeah,
because I'm going to be out in California in September. Andy told me about, oh, that's October. I'm going to be at I think I'm going to be doing a speech somewhere in October. That's not far from there. I'm not sure yet because it's not confirmed. So I don't want to say anything yet. But yeah, now we want to start tagging off 14ers again. And we're talking about pulling out our crampons and all, you know, all of a sudden we're both back in, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Training, whatever. We've got this now. Yeah.
So Don, everyone wants to know, you know, I've always lamented, you're my friend. You have free access to me. Nothing I can say or do could get you off of carbohydrates. And then finally you figured out a way to get off of carbohydrates. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, you know, as you've often said, I know so much about it, and you know, well, I would get off of carbohydrates, be good for a period of time, feeling great, and then thinking, oh, I can have a pizza now. I can go back to having whatever, cookies, candy, ice cream, and years of that back and forth, you know, relapsing, basically being good for a week, being good for 2 weeks, being good for 3 months, fasting, all is great, feeling great. And then, you know, you're like, oh, I'm feeling great. Oh, it's somebody's special occasion. Yeah, I'll have some of that. And then that one cupcake turns into a 3-day bender for me. So it would, meaning a 3-day bender of like, okay, all right, I blew it today, so let's just keep pigging out. And then the next day wakes up and now I've got so much sugar in my system. I'm like, well, I'll start tomorrow. I'll just have another day of pigging out.
Yeah.
And then that just keeps, so, you know, a one cheat would turn into a 3-day cheat. And then starting the process over again for a period of time, dropping that weight, gaining it back, dropping that weight, gaining it back. Until I realized that the methodology was all fine, but the mindset of sticking with it, you know, I've of course over the years I've heard about, oh, you know, mindful eating and emotional eating, and those are just like phrases that, yeah, I'm an emotional eater, yeah, oh yeah, I'm an addict, I'm a food addict. It's like, I'm not a food addict. Nobody's really a food addict. They're actually a sugar or carb or grain addict.
Yeah.
that they're not a food addict. No one's addicted to steak. No one's addicted to vegetables, really. You know, whatever the one ingredient foods are, eggs, you know, any animals or any plants. No one's really addicted to that. Fruit, different story, because that's just wet sugar. But
Yeah.
you know, so having come across Dr. Robert Cywis, who's a guy who cuts people's stomachs out for a living, tries to convince them otherwise, but people don't care. So many people
Right.
down in Palm Beach, Florida, have so much money. They're like, I don't care. Here's my wallet. Just do what I want. But listening to him got me on the idea of, instead of a dietary mindset, a addiction mindset. So then finally realizing that eating that stuff at night, you know, pizza, ice cream, cookies, candy, was that I was an addict, no different than a drug addict or an alcoholic. But I mean, you have to really process that and say, you know, why are you eating that stuff? Well, you're eating it just to get high. So pizza and ice cream is me getting high, no different than the guy that's smoking weed on his couch at night or having a drink on his couch, or drinks on his couch. The women and men that drink a bottle of wine every night and they think,
Right.
oh, I got this. But you're just getting high and you're just dealing with whatever it is. And I always thought, it's not that I'm sad. It's not that it was a rough day. It could be a great day. It could have been a successful day. So it doesn't matter what the emotion was, whatever the emotion was, good or bad, I still would want to get high. Like, oh, it's time to get high. We're going to watch some crappy TV. We're going to do this. And, you know, then of course, be mad at yourself for doing it, but then not really understanding why are you doing that. And once I admitted to myself that I could not be trusted with a slice of pizza, I can be trusted with one drink. I can be no problem where some people can't. I can have half a glass of wine and then like, yeah, leave it alone. If there's a bag of Oreos in the house, I'm not stopping until they're gone. I can't just have 2 Oreos, and some people can. So once I realized that that was my drug, and you know, we willy-nilly like, yeah, we all know sugar's a drug. We all know it's more addictive than cocaine. We've seen the rat studies, and it shows their brain that rats will choose sugar over cocaine. Yeah. And so I know all that stuff, and I hear all that. It just kind of fell on deaf ears until like Cyrus got through to me listening to his stuff where, you know, he's explaining that you have to take on an addiction mindset. You can't just take on a dietary mindset because you obviously know how to lose weight, you know what to eat, how to feel good, and yet you keep relapsing. So once I adopted that mindset, and then right behind him, because I had viewed so much of his content, I guess the algorithm showed up, and up came a woman who goes by she's an actual doctor, but she goes by Carnivore Doctor.
Yeah.
And she's, you know, doesn't have that much out there, but a couple of them came up. What the 1-2 punch for me was him saying that got me on track and saying, okay, you just can't have a cupcake. You just can't. You got to stop. You're just getting high, and it's going to lead to a 3-day bender. And I had done it for so many years. You know, you're always like, Don, you're doing so good. Why do you go back? And that was why, just like any addict. So then she pops up, and she's a 10+ year carnivore. So now I'm like, okay, she's talking about the same addiction mindset as Cyrus, plus she had actually walked the walk and lived being a carnivore for 10+ years. This isn't it's cool that Sean Baker's in it, and he's, I don't know what he is, 4 years in now, maybe 5 years.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fairly new-ish, you know, but you know, he kind of got the movement going in a big way, but with Joe Rogan and whatnot. But you know, you're like, all right, it's like a new thing. Like, yeah, I'm kind of carnivore-ish, doing keto, doing NSNG. I'm kind of there. But it was really adopting that addiction mindset, much like an alcoholic would or a drug addict would, and treating those items the same way. And in society, it's so hard. And so seeing that she's like, you know, it's a great diet to be on because it's less options. It's basically, meat and water, anything that once had a mother. Because I've tried all of the things years ago living in Seattle. I've tried being a vegan and whatnot. And I used to run around preaching, I don't eat anything with a face, nothing with a face, nothing with a face. And I was doing Fit for Life and Sprout unleavened bread sandwiches and all that stuff, right? And feeling hideous. That was years ago. But so I've run the gamut of all of it. And then, with the carnivore popularity gaining, and so Cywus and then Carnivore Doctor. And then I'm like, okay, now here's two doctors talking about this addiction mindset. That got me hooked, got me reflecting for myself. And then thinking, okay, I'm gonna try this carnivore thing the real way now. And I'm not gonna eat avocados, because I would go to Chipotle and eat up, the bowl with no rice. So lots of avocado, lots of tomatoes, lots of cheese. And it just started working. Now, that being said, as you've always said, there's nothing you can eat with impunity.
Right.
And you can still get fat on a carnivore diet. You can get fat on any diet, as you've said. And you're right, because so here I started, like December of 2019, after Christmas, right? I'm like, all right, that's like everybody. All right, that's it. I'm doing this now.
Yeah.
And the pandemic hits in March. So now we're all at home. Now I'm sucking down heavy cream all day and cheese, because it's there and it's delicious and it's addictive, right? Cheese and cream are addictive. As you've said many times, Gary Taubes has said many times, it's like, I think there's actually something in milk products called like casomorphine, is like the chemical that's in there. So it actually is addictive and will make you want that more. And now, so the scale had gone down from December to March. Now we're in the house. Now March to June, it's starting to go up. Now I'm saying, what's going on? I'm pure carnivore. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because just like keto and everything, when you come off the standard American diet and the crap, just by cutting that stuff out, it works for a while.
Right.
And then it doesn't. It just sort of stops, because you're basically overeating still. You would think, oh, I'm eating fat. They said fat was good. Okay, let's go. And well, you can't overeat fat, and it's an energy source. So now I'm realizing, oh, I'm sucking down way too much heavy cream and cheese. I'm still eating just, animal products, but the scale's kind of going up. So I'm like, God, geez. So start to dial that back. Like, one of the things I think Cyrus has wrong is, he'll say, use a diet drink as a bridge, so, and I got to say, I tried that during that beginning days, and it just made me, putting sweet stuff in your mouth just makes you want more sweet. And then now I'm sucking down Diet Cokes again that I hadn't done.
Let me break in there, because, there's a lot of people I work with, I do the consults and everything. They're starting off, A1Cs are 12, they're 450, 500 pounds. They have fatty liver disease. And I will allow, the people that are calling me weekly or every other week or once a month, I'll let them do the diet soft drinks at the beginning, because I'm just trying to get them to eat as much fat as I can to correct as much as I can. And for some of these people, when you talk about the addiction, I call it the methadone of.
That's what he calls it too. Exactly.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Right.
It's just the methadone.
Right.
Got to come off of it. You can't stay on it, but if you need a couple of weeks of bridging that. So I'm all against diet soft drinks. I think, it's like having liquid cigarettes. It's a carcinogen.
Yeah.
But if that's the last thing, the last bastion of what you're going to hang on to while you're trying to get everything else straight, while you're freaking out and you feel like you're on a tightrope with no net.
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on to that. Hang on to it. But just know that you need to start weaning off, because within a few weeks it's going to have to go.
And you're right. And you do, because you described it great when you said you're on a tightrope with no net, because, and he calls it, if I take away carbohydrates, I've just taken away your best friend, because everyone's defending their carb addiction. Like, oh, no, I'm okay, with cupcakes and pizza and whatnot and the occasional, but you take away they're really your best friend. If you're fat and you're obviously fat because you eat that shit and that poison and those toxins, and it just keeps you addicted to it. And then you take that away. You've now taken away one of my best friends. Now what do I got? What am I turning to now? Well, I guess walk the dog or go outside. Those are the new habits that you have to try to institute. But like you said, and taking baby step towards just getting people off the crap, it can work for a while. But like you said, you got to get off of that. So then I said, you know what, this diet stuff is not working. It's not working as a bridge. So and I hadn't had it for like 10 years, but since he said it, I was like, all right, it's okay. It's calorie free. And, I'm doing this crazy carnivore diet now. So yeah, why not? But got off of that. And then of course, dialed back the heavy cream and cheese. And then the diet started really working. And then it just kept going, and it was not a straight line down. There were weeks and weeks of the same identical weight every day.
Yeah.
Even whether I ate less or ate more, it would just be weeks and weeks of the same weight. And then there would be a breakthrough, and then there would be the same weight. So the key is you have to be patient. If you're going to try this, you have to be patient. You can't, everyone's like, yeah, Vinnie. And I know, because I'm that way. It's like, yeah. I just want to drop the weight fast. So I'm just going to fast, and I'm going to eat low calorie, and I'll do NSNG, low calorie and fast. So I just want to get the weight off. Then I'll eat the way you want me to eat. And you really can't. You can't look at this as a diet. You have to just say, listen, I'm an addict, and I can't be trusted with that stuff. If you can't, you obviously can. You can deal with the social situations of the occasional treat. And so, at the end of the day, nobody really cares what you're putting in your mouth. I've learned that, I used to think like, I don't want to be the guy. And it's like, no, none for me. I'm okay. You don't want to make a big deal about it. And then you get in those situations and you're like, all right, just this once. But you can't. You really can't. It's like you wouldn't tell an alcoholic, hey, it's New Year's Eve. What's one sip of champagne? Just tonight. What's one nip, one shot? Just can't. You just can't. So adopting that mindset, and now, over a year and a half into it, it's wonderful. It's like, people might say, oh, don't you get bored with that? It's like, actually, no, you don't. It's like, I could say, don't you get bored relapsing? Don't you get bored fighting, being fat and having to look for big clothes and, having to go to the doctor and take metformin, and not that I did any of that, but, there's diabetics that just, don't you get bored having to go to the pharmacy and get your medications? No, no, I'm not bored eating steak and chicken and fish or any animal I want, really, but tend to gravitate towards red meat because it's just more satisfying and more delicious. And that's what we ate the whole week, every day.
Yeah, I literally, since we were eating together, as you know, I just eat no sugars, no grains. So there's more vegetables. But I said, you know what? I'm here with this guy. This is the way he wants to eat. I ate carnivore for a week, and I do that sometimes. I'll go days without vegetables, but I'm always having my vegetables. I will have cheese because I can have a piece of cheese and move on. I can have, whatever, and move on.
Yeah, and I have cheese as well, but I do notice like I can't go crazy on it, but I can moderate that pretty good.
Right. It's a learning process. It's a learning curve. I want to do a quick ad, and I want to talk about the runners at Badwater, because I knew that you would have the reaction you had to them, that you did. I want to talk a little bit about that, because some of those people you would think would be the leanest, stealthiest people around, and in some cases they're not. Folks, Villa Cappelli olive oil has been the longest running sponsor of this show. As a matter of fact, I use their products when I'm out and about, sometimes in a kayak, sometimes when I'm hiking around. I take it more in the winter because it stays nice and cool. I don't have to worry about it running rancid. I always put a little bit of my ultra salt in. It tastes like a salad caprese. You can also put it on salads. We take it with us to restaurants and everywhere else. We use it in food around here. It's the best olive oil on the planet. I can guarantee it's not cut with seed oils. There are other great olive oils out there. I can't vet them all. I tell everyone, get Villa Cappelli, because not only can I tell you that it's 100% olive oil, but I can also tell you that it's the best tasting olive oil I've ever put in my mouth. When I had the great Dean Carnesi on this show at one point, he even said, hey, wait, what was an olive oil again? I got to get, he's Greek. These people love their oil. Go check out Villa Cappelli olive oil. If you want to save 10% and put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, for 10% off. If you spend more than $100 after the discount, what do you get? Free shipping. Get that 3-liter 10, grab a couple of other things, get the 10% discount by putting in promo code Vinnie, and then get free shipping. It's that easy. Villa Cappelli olive oil, promo code Vinnie, no wimpy Y on Vinnie, and you'll get 10% off. We're talking to my buddy, Don Coddington. Don, you got an eye full when we went down to the lowest point, I think, in the world. I think maybe the lowest point in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, it's one of the two. I know it's the hottest point on the planet. There's all kinds of records down in Badwater. The race is 135 miles. It's invitation only. Some of these athletes look the part. Some of them don't. And when you talk to them, the ones that have extra weight on them, and by the way, these are people who can run 135 miles in the hottest, craziest weather in the world. And some of these people have a few pounds to lose. Would you agree?
Oh, definitely. Quite a few. I was shocked. I thought, wow, anyone that can run 135 miles in the most extreme weather and with elevation gains of 5,000, 4,000, and then finishing up at 8,000. So that kind of hill and elevation gains throughout 135 miles in that heat, I thought, oh, these are going to be like the leanest, ripped out athletes I've ever seen. And half the time I couldn't tell who were the athletes or who were the crew. You know, each person had a crew member, a crew team of 3 or 4 people that would ride along in the car with them to take care of them, but I often could not tell. I mean, obviously a couple of the elite guys you can tell, but there were guys that just looked like an old CEO, big bone, big body. And I'm thinking that guy his knees and legs can take 135 miles.
And by the way, I interviewed a lot of these people. That's why Don was holding the camera while I was interviewing these people. In some cases, they were on their 7th, 8th, and 9th Badwater.
Right.
And as I told Don before we walked into that convention center, I said, Don, if someone told you that you're going to a plumbers convention, you would not disagree, because.
And you had said that to me beforehand, and I thought, all right, that's a bit extreme. Come on, man. But it wasn't far off. It really was not a far off analogy.
Yeah. Some of these people just, and by the way, these are people who can go 135 miles going up and down those mountains, and this isn't their first rodeo. You got to do 3 100s just to get there, and
just to apply.
Just to apply, and then they pick from that. Right. So these are the best of the best. And Don, I don't know if you noticed this, but every time a heavy set runner would come through, they would go, "Yeah, I love your ultra fat. I'm using it now, but I need my carbs. I need my carbs."
Yep.
Which means you can't outrun a bad diet.
I mean, that was proof right there. These are people that are running 100 miles at a clip, and it's not working for weight loss, not working at all.
Yeah.
The training the volume they're putting in, it's like, how can you not be anorexic looking? How?
You are correct, sir.
Yeah.
You're correct. And some people look the part. Some people, you can see the mitochondria swimming under their skin, and they have hamstrings where you can see each one of the biceps in their hamstrings and everything else.
Yep.
There's some of those.
Yep. And you've talked about this many times about go to the finish line of a marathon or a triathlon and you'll see what you're talking about. But I thought, okay, here's some elite people. This is an extreme ultra event. They've got to they can't be fat because they're going to have to carry that weight all that way under these extreme conditions. And sure enough, they're there. They're there too.
Yeah. And I've talked to these people. I don't, when I'm interviewing them at these events, I won't do it. But when I talk to them and we're having dinner at some of these events and the whole thing, I'll say, why don't you try? It's like, you don't understand. They tell me I don't understand. You don't understand, Vin. If I stop running, can you imagine how fat I would be? So they think that they have to keep running just to stay at this fat weight. Right. I'll tell you this. I guess I could throw these names out. Tony Patera, 7-time finisher. He was crewing for someone else. My friend Andrea Koyman was there. She was crewing for someone. These are multi-time finishers of the race. And they both admitted to me, I said, Andrea, why aren't you running this year? She goes, look at me. She goes, COVID, I put on weight during COVID. I just started getting nervous. And Andrea is one of these people that has to be around people, right? And she was closed off to the world. She goes, I went off of NSNG. I stopped doing it. I started eating ice cream and cake and everything else around. And she goes, look at me, I've put on weight. Now, Andrea is still a beautiful woman.
He is.
You know, you're not going to make Andrea Koyman not look beautiful.
Right.
The eyes alone.
Right.
But she, Tony wrote to me right after the event. He goes, I talked to Andrea, me, and there's a couple of other people. After running into you again, we're all going strict NSNG. We're going to support each other. We've done it before. Because Tony was one of those people before he went NSNG. He was a 3 or 4 time finisher who did it 30 or 40 pounds heavier. Then he came to me for NSNG. We got him low carb. When he showed up the next year, people didn't recognize him. He had lost that much weight. He looked like a gazelle. He looked like a runner. The guy is always a great runner, but he runs a lot better with 30, 40, 50 pounds off of his body. And as you know, Tony's not a big man. So 45 pounds, 35 on that body is a lot.
Yes.
Andrea is not a tall woman.
No.
So maybe she put on, I don't want to exaggerate, 15, 20 pounds. That's a lot for her, right? And they're not happy with that. They want to get back in form again. So there were a lot of people like that. It was just an amazing thing that this was kind of their first event back. I was even telling you, man, I was standing there kind of getting the deuce chills because I haven't been around the element for a while. And the fact that you and I, even though we cheated and climbed Mount Whitney, we're back in the element now. Like we want to go do something now. It's like, we did that. What else you got? What else you got?
Right.
I've been talking to Dave, the kayaker. He wants me to do a kayaking event. I have my paddle erg set up in my office now. So I'm getting back on that a little bit. I got to start hitting the water with the boat. But we're all trying to do something again. It's like, COVID is over. And I know there's been an uptick in COVID and all that, but we're moving around again. We're getting out there. I think COVID is under control. People aren't dying from it the way they were, for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe the drugs are better. Maybe more people are taking the vaccine. I don't know what the reasons are, but COVID is not the death sentence it was a year ago. So we're all here now doing this, and it feels good that we're out there rocking and rolling again. So there you have it. Any final words before I let you go, Dan?
Oh, final words. I don't know. Just be patient. It's I know no one wants to hear that. It really is. None of this is exciting. None of this is Instagrammable. None of, like your zone 2 training. It couldn't be more boring. It couldn't be the most unsexy form of exercise, right? It's not, like I said, it's not Instagrammable. No one's getting sponsorships for going in zone 2 every day, but it works amazingly well. And it's also great I think for longevity and something you can do the rest of your life. And, as far as the eating goes, if you're relapsing all the time, try carnivore. Really just try taking on the addiction mindset that, I'm an addict and I cannot be trusted with a slice of toast, a cupcake. I just can't. And just, it's easier to be 100% off of it than 90% good. It's just easier to do 100%. And so if you're addicted, if your brain is going to not stop thinking about it, then just take on that mindset and, eat the NSNG way, carnivore way, whatever it, they're so close anyway. It'll work.
Don, a lot of people there, I'll make them go strict for a month and do my PDF. I have that free PDF on my site. Anyone can download it. I'll say, listen, they'll say, I can't have that. I can't have that. Yeah, just cut it all out for a month. Just read my PDF, go strict for 1 month. Dr. Atkins used to say 2 weeks is not enough. Right. If you talk to Anna Vocino, that bitch will tell you to go 60 days.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm more in line with Anna. Again,
Yeah.
you got to be patient, and you have to, I guess part of the, I've never had any training in addiction mindset or anything other than from, what I've learned or experienced myself. But one of the things I've learned is like, just say, well, I'm just not going to have it today. You can't think, well, what are you saying? I'm never going to have a cupcake the rest of my life. If people ask me that, you're never going to have a slice of pizza. I'm like, no, just not today. And I'm just worrying about today. And I'm not thinking like, if someone tells you, hey, Vinny, you got to take out the garbage every day for the rest of your life. I feel like, oh, the garbage, really? Every day? You don't think that way. You're just like, just today. I'm taking it out today.
Yeah, you just do it. Yeah. And look, the proof in the pudding was when Serena and I, it was still during COVID, we had to go up to New York for something. So I said, Don, meet us. We're going to go grab a steak. You walked into the hotel and Serena didn't recognize you. You had the mask on, but you walked in.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, that's Don? Yeah, she goes, she's hot. I went, slow down, pumpkin. Slow down. I ain't chopped liver yet. Yeah. Good you. Hang on, Don. I want to say goodbye to you off the air. Folks, if you like what's going on here, you know what to do. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, please go to VinnieTortorich.com. Click through the banner, bookmark it, use it every time. It's how we pay for this podcast. It's how I keep it free. Amazon, I guess Jeff Bezos had to have more money to shoot himself into outer space. They don't give us as much money as they used to. They changed all the terms and everything. And as it was working out, I was putting a lot of my own money just to keep the podcast going. It cost a lot to run it around here. So I started telling people about the Superfan page again. We were basically, what do they call that? Patreon before Patreon. We just set up a page. There's no obligation to go there and do anything, but I do appreciate it. I see everybody who sends money to the Superfan page. It's how I keep the show free. We have almost 1,900 shows. We've been doing this for 10 years. It's kind of like my PBS thing. We have to ask for donations to keep it going. That's what we do. So I appreciate you guys. I don't realize any of that money from the podcast. I do this show for free. But there's people like Anna and Gina Grad and Tallulah and everybody behind the scenes, Bill Meadows and Scott Mulvaney, Debbie, they all have to earn a salary. Those people can't work for free. This is part of their job. So I thank you guys for doing that. On behalf of my buddy, the billionaire, Don Coddington, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with enthusiasm.